Many people will say intelligence, but the real differentiator in life is focus. And to prove this point, I'll give you an analogy. Think of a car. Intelligence is the engine of the car. Now, the better the engine, the faster the car. And the thing is, people get overhyped about the power of the car, which is the engine, and they ignore the steering wheel, which is what makes it possible to change direction, to control the car itself. Because you could have the fastest car in the world, but it would be useless if you couldn't control it without the wheel. And in our analogy, the wheel is nothing but your focus. And if we continue with the analogy, let's say we have two cars racing. This car is the slowest car in the world, and this one is the best car ever created, the fastest, the best engine ever created. I'm not an expert, so I'm just, making this up, but I just want that you understand the point, okay? So, who do you think will win? Well, there's something more that I have to add. The slowest car actually has a steering wheel, while the other car, which is the best in the world, doesn't have a steering wheel. So who do you think will win? Well, if the direction they have to follow is straight, maybe this car will actually win because the engine is so much better. It will get to the finish line in a much smaller time. But as soon as the direction they have to follow is made of curves, this car will win because this other car will get out of the road. This sounds crazy, but it's true. Now, if this analogy is working so far, let's say that these cars are people, human beings. So this car, the fastest car in the world, would be the most intelligent person on earth. So the best engine means the best intelligence. So a genius, basically. But without the ability to focus. And the other car is the dumbest person on earth, but he has a very good ability to focus. So who do you think will win between these two cars? Well, you might say that if the direction they have to follow is straight, this one will win. And what does this mean in real life? Because we're not talking about cars, we're talking about people. We're talking about people like you and me, and basically everyone you'll meet in your life. What a straight direction means in real life is a very basic environment without distractions, without things that disturb your mission, your ideal goals. While if the direction they have to follow as curves, it means there are distractions in the environment. So whenever there are distractions or there are curves, the car with the steering wheel will be able to follow the direction, while the car without the steering wheel will get out of the road as soon as the first curve arrives in the road. So you get what I'm saying. If there are distractions in the environment, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are, because the only thing that matters is your ability to focus. Because if you're able to focus, you're able to do this little game right here. You're able to follow the curves of reality. You don't end up out of the road just because you don't have a steering wheel. So now let's stop with the analogies. What I wanted to say with all of this is, don't get mad at the world because you're not intelligent enough to succeed and to do what you want, because that's not the point. It helps, just like height. It helps to be tall, but it's not required to be a beautiful person. Do you understand? It's helpful. The engine helps a lot. It's very important, but you can't even talk about the engine if you don't have the steering wheel. If you don't have focus, don't even worry about intelligence, because this won't be your problem. Your problem will be focus, because without focus, as soon as the road becomes a little bit more uncertain, you'll get out of the road. And not because you don't have a strong enough engine, but because you don't have a steering wheel. the highest predictor of your success is your ability to filter information in your environment and only keep what's essential to your goals. I can't stress this enough. My whole channel is all about that. My whole brand is all about that. And my whole coaching program is all about that. I help people doing this little game right here. Making sure that they can stay on the road and get the finish line in the most efficient and fulfilled way possible. And how do you do this? By cultivating focus, not intelligence. Intelligence is just like a bonus. You first make sure that you have the steering wheel, the real car. You can drive the car, because power without direction is useless. It's just blind. So the bottom line of this whole video is, even the dumbest person on earth would beat a distracted genius. Okay? So this was only a way to suck you in the video, all this analogy with the cars, the road you're following. But now let's get to the real juice of focus, of the art of focus, because it's a whole life mission that I'm pursuing, and many people that are following this channel are pursuing with me. So what we're going to cover today in this video is why every form of attention is an investment. It is a ROI, a return of investment, meaning everything you pay attention to actually creates your future. Second, why what you see is what you desire. And so, if what you see is what you desire, why seeing certain things is good and why seeing certain things is bad, according to your specific needs and desires. And we're going to cover the concept of mimetic desire. And in the last part of the video, I'm going to tell you how to shift your environment in a way that makes success obvious. Now, you might think that paying attention to something is a neutral process, meaning you just observe and nothing happens. But this is not how it works. What you observe, you become. As humans, we are imitators. We imitate what we see. So we become what we see the most. Because remember, attention is a force that simplifies the complexity of reality into a tiny set of elements we can perceive. And remember, reality is enormous. A human being can't, take into account all of it in the same moment. Okay, so we simplify reality. We just care about specific parts of reality. So if this is true, every single thing you pay attention to as a return of investment. And I just love that in English you say pay attention to, because in my mother tongue, in Italian, we don't say it like that. We say it in a different way. But in English you include a sort of transaction when you pay attention to something, because literally you are paying with currency, because what you will pay attention to, you will become. And can you think how big of an investment it is? Then I'll explain you how this works, but just think about that. It's not about earning money. It's not about, a very good stock that you're investing in. It's literally your destiny. You are investing in your destiny. You are deciding what you will become. There's a quote by 𝗪𝗪𝗪 that I absolutely want to share with you, because it brings us to the next point. It says, watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Watch your words, for they become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. And finally, what matters the most, watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. So we can basically say that your destiny starts with the contents of your mind, and this is nothing new. And this quote doesn't enrich our understanding of the mind, but ask yourself this: where do your thoughts come from? Because this is the real interesting question, because thoughts don't just appear in your mind randomly, or actually they do, but what produces them? It's simply what you see. Which brings us to attention. Reality gives you thoughts, because what you see is what you think about. And to prove this point, can you think about things that you don't even know exist? maybe yes, maybe it can happen, but from my experience, we don't. We just think about what we know exists, okay? We think about things that we have perceived in our life. So can you realize how important it is to control what you pay attention to, what you focus your energies on? Because these things will be the building bricks of your whole destiny, of your reality even. Because your reality is nothing but what you can perceive, what you pay attention to. And you know, if you think about this in a very limited perspective, in terms of days and hours, you know, this doesn't seem like much of a deal, but if you think about your whole life, what you are right now is nothing but what you've paid attention to. You can literally predict someone's destiny by what they pay attention to. Can you realize this? Because, as we said, thoughts are nothing but the consequence of what you see in your reality. But you have the power to choose to focus on specific aspects of your reality. So it means that you have the power to change your destiny. Because destiny starts with thoughts, with this complex mechanism that we have seen. But thoughts are created by your attention. So I think you understand why it is absolutely non-negotiable to master your attention, to master your ability to direct your energies on what matters. So basically your attention is the way in which you understand and form a relationship with your reality. And this relationship with reality, meaning what you will pay attention to, will provide you with thoughts, which then, with the mechanism that we have explored earlier, you know, will create your destiny. But since this is not a philosophy channel, or actually it might be, but this is not the main goal, what is reality? Because here we want to make sure that our reality will provide us with the right inputs, which will create the right destiny, the destiny that we want for ourselves. So reality can be external or internal. External reality is literally anything that you can pay attention to that is external to your mind, to your internal state. And this is music, any kind of sound, any kind of music, of genre you can listen to, anything you can imagine. It will shift your thoughts, your mood, and then your actions, and you know, your destiny. Everything you can pay attention to will shift your destiny. This is the point, okay? Everything, there's no exception. Your conversations, the people you talk to, this has an enormous effect, because thoughts are created from external stimuli. So if you surround yourself with great ideas, with people who question what you do, who make you improve, you know, I'm not saying anything new, but people, when they say it, they don't realize why this is so true, you know, the importance of choosing the right people. This is because of that. You are not talking about, you know, the pleasure of having the right friends. This is cool, but we are talking about your destiny. This is the point. So conversations, but also videos, YouTube videos like the one you're watching right now, books, places, you know, any form of external input that can enter your mind. This will create your destiny by definition, because it will change your internal environment, your internal reality. So internal reality is nothing but your thoughts, what you think about, your emotions, your mind states, even your memories. Just think about how thinking to a specific memory will shift your mood, which will then shift your actions, because what we do is also dictated by how we feel, okay? And people just, you know, think about emotions like something they have no control over. But if you think about emotions like provoked by something external, you realize you can't directly control your emotions, but you can control what produces those emotions, okay? If you live a life where what you do doesn't matter to you, you're just alienated by what you do, it's obvious you'll feel bad negative emotions. emotions are created by your reality. But your power is in choosing the specific aspects you pay attention to in reality. Because reality, as we said, reality is just enormous, okay? And what you can pay attention to is a very limited set of elements of reality. So it's not true. You can say that reality is against you. You might say that what you're focusing on is against you. You can always find a reality, a little piece of reality that is not against you. Because as we said, reality is so huge. I can't believe you can find even at least one tiny thing about your reality that is actually something good for you. This is what Stoicism is all about. People don't usually think about it on a psychological level, but it's nothing but that. Choosing the specific areas of reality where you actually have the power to improve and to do better and to feel less negative emotions. Because if emotions are created by external events, you might not change external events, but you will change what you notice about those events, what you notice about your reality. This is the power of focus. This is why I've started this channel. This is why I've started this journey, because it's the most important cognitive ability. I think you now realize that the reason why we said earlier that intelligence is useless without this ability, because this ability literally dictates what you will do in life. Your whole destiny is written in your ability to focus. There's also something else about focus that is just unbelievable. Focus compounds like a stock in the market, literally, because in the beginning you focus on specific aspects of reality and your life doesn't seem to change so much. It takes time, but once you've focused on the right things for weeks, months, years, reality will reward you in ways you can't even imagine. It's a compounding effect. People usually talk about this compounding effect in the markets or with consistency, but without the ability to filter irrelevant information, you can't be consistent. And if you just wait for some months, focusing on the right things, it will all compound. So please be patient. The only way to change your life using focus is to be patient. There's no other way, because otherwise you can see the compounding effect. The compounding effect is just like a way, I think, reality makes sure that not everyone can achieve the same results, because truly not everyone is patient enough to wait for the compounding effect to happen in the first place. I think it's just like a sort of defense mechanism of reality for just making sure that really not everyone can achieve the same things. Okay, so be patient, please. But let's go a little bit deeper into that, into why your destiny depends on what you see ultimately, because we've already seen a lot of ways in which this happens. But let's come back to how destiny is created by your actions. If now you ask yourself, where do your actions come from? You will probably say they come from your desires. This sounds logical, right? What you desire is what you'll probably do more of, okay? It makes sense. Now, if this makes sense, you gotta also ask yourself, where do your desires come from? Because this is an interesting question. Do you think you have your own desires, or society tells you what you desire? Well, according to the French philosopher René Girard, we actually can't desire things that other people don't desire. We only desire what we see other people desire. This is the concept of mimetic desire. René Girard, this French philosopher, looked at literature and religion and almost any kind of society who has ever existed And he noticed this pattern that we can all, admit in our own lives. What we see is what we desire. Not just because we see it, but because as humans, we notice what emotions do other people feel when they achieve what they have achieved. And then we desire that thing too, because we notice their emotions and we want to feel their emotions. We want to have what we see they desire, okay? So if the concept of mimetic desire is true, we desire what we see other people desiring. For example, John may see Adam, who has a ton of money. He has the typical attributes of money in the Western society, which is, having a cool car, a beautiful house, traveling a lot. And he will desire that only because Adam is desiring that a lot, and John will just automatically see that as fulfillment and happiness. But if John didn't see Adam, meaning in his reality he just couldn't see this model of happiness, he might see another model, another way of living, which is Bill's way of living. Bill's whole reason to live is love. He has prioritized this. And so if John didn't see this other guy right here, and if he just saw Bill, pursuing love, he probably would have pursued love just like Bill. So why am I saying to you all these little stories? Because ultimately what you see is what you will desire, and what you will desire is what you will do, and then it will become your destiny, just like we have seen with the pyramid right before. So you can literally say that you can have a destiny A and destiny B, destiny C, and infinite destinies depending on what you desire. But what you desire is what you see in reality. But how does this apply to your life? Well, in the usual life, we don't see extreme levels of achievement, so we don't end up feeling unsatisfied with our situation. But for example, if we take social media, we have literally a machine designed to create mimetic desire, and not just a healthy mimetic desire, but a totally crazy mimetic desire where broke people just see billionaires and they think that this is the standard. You can interpret social media just like a mimetic desire game where people find inspiration for what they should strive to, and there is nothing bad in that. The only bad thing is that people perceive extreme models, extreme levels of achievement. So what you want to make sure in your own life, especially when it comes to what you consume on social media, is making sure that you filter what you think is actually achievable, because otherwise social media will bombard you with forms of achievement that you will end up desiring. But remember, what you end up desiring is what will become your day-to-day life. So you want to be ready to start desiring anything you see online, and also in real life. But in real life it's much easier to control. So in my channel and also in my coaching program, I always talk about environment optimization, meaning making sure that your environment provides you with the right stimuli for your goals. So I usually talk about this in the perspective of improving your focus. But now that we have discovered the concept of mimetic desire, you can understand that this goes much beyond focus, okay? It's not just about your ability to focus. Environment optimization is about what you will end up desiring. And what you will end up desiring is literally, I repeat, your actions, because you will try with your actions to achieve what you are desiring. This is very important. Okay, so how can you design your environment in a way that makes this game of achieving a little less heavy for you? mentally, I mean. So here's a couple of ways to, redesign your environment in a way that your environment will end up providing you with the right stimuli. The easiest one to fix is your house. And this may seem very boring, just like your parents telling you to clean your room, but this is true. Where do you spend the most of your time? In your house, and especially in your room. So it's not just about keeping it clean. I mean, this is obvious. Just keep it clean, okay? But, remove stuff that you don't need. Make it a priority to literally every day try to remove one single object from your room. I swear that your life quality will skyrocket. So if this is the place where you spend most of your time, why not making sure that it has less stimuli for you to process? Because if it has less things in it, your room, you will be able to focus a lot easier, because you'll have a lot less temptations, distractions, disorder. Clarity is a choice. It's just a choice. It's just a choice of removing useless stuff. And your room is the first step. Then you'll go with the rest of the house. You'll remove stuff you don't need. It's much more than tidying up. It's literally freeing yourself from useless stuff, freeing mental space, because physical space will reflect on mental space. And then you will go with your social life. So your social life means that the people you talk to every single day will provide you with the building bricks of your thinking, just like we said. So if you don't have people around you that stimulate you, you have a big problem, because you'll keep repeating the same life. You need people not only intelligent, but who actually care about you, who can both provide high quality thinking combined with empathy. They literally care about your future. So they give you ideas, they just improve your perspective on life. I'm not saying that every single one of your friends should match those requirements, but what I need you to realize is that if you don't feel like you're living a great life, this is an easy fix. It's under your control. I mean, you are the one who decides your friends, okay? You have this power. I'm just telling you your powers. You can do whatever you like, but don't come to other people complaining that your life sucks. If your social circle sucks, you might need to change it. Just like you might change your physical environment, you might change your social environment. And just like you can change your social environment, you might change your social media feed. And like we have said, this has enormous consequences on your life, because you'll stop desiring the wrong stuff. You'll see what fuels the goals that truly matter to you. Actually, it's a bit more than that, because what you already desire is what you have seen in the past. So for the future, just make sure that right now you start choosing the right stimuli you see. Okay, this is very important. And then we can talk about books, videos, anything you consume in order to learn. Learning is great in itself, but it will be more or less precious depending on your goals. You should prioritize what actually excites you. And the final point I wanted to talk about in this video, ask yourself, why do you do what you do? Meaning, when you're doing something, are you thinking about the external outcomes it will create, or are you truly enjoying it? Because in the last video I said literally the opposite. You have to pay attention to the results you are pursuing, and this is fine. This is the mind frame you should have in general. But once you are actually doing the work, you need to not worry about the result and enjoy the activity itself. When you are in the action of focusing, you don't have to think about external results. External results should be pursued once you've finished focusing, once you are making plans about your week, your month. This is how you operate, how you should operate, I think. Having goals And those goals is what should direct your plans. Okay, so when you think about what do I need to do, you think about your goals, you think about your desires, you think about your external kind of goals. But once you are in the flow state, which is what I help people do with my coaching offer, with this channel, with just anything I post online, you should be having a sort of internal motivation. And there is a specific word we use to say that, which is autotelic. It comes from the Greek words autos and telos. Autos is itself and telos is and, you know. So when you are autotelic, when you're autotelic as a person, it means that you do things with an internal kind of motivation, meaning you just enjoy the activity itself. When you are doing the thing, not when you are planning your life, but when you are actually in the flow state, you're not thinking about external goals for later that you'll achieve by doing this thing. You're just focused on the action. This is the goal. This is the mind state you should be operating in. Having clear intentions on external goals, which is the reason why you have started working on what you work, okay? But then, when you're doing the thing, just ignoring external outcomes, because paradoxically, the quality of your work will improve. So also go check out the other video where I seem to say the opposite, and then combine it with this video, and it will make sense, because you are making sure that your actions are directed to a goal, because it makes life more exciting, it gives you more dopamine. But then research has proved many times that internal motivation is a lot more powerful than external. So the real flow state, the real mind state where you are completely absorbed, is not when you're thinking about the money, the prestige you'll get by doing what you do, but just by falling in love with it. Okay, you can do both. And what I am trying to do with this channel is just that, making people both achieve and enjoy, because most people are literally in one of the two extremes. There are some people who just set goals, external goals, and they ignore their own fulfillment. And this is bad, because you will stop, you won't be consistent over the long term. And then there are people who just try to pursue fulfillment, but then the bills come in their life. They need external goals, because life is also made about external goals. As usual, thank you for watching, and if you want more from me, you can check out my eggs for daily psychology and tips to perform better while enjoying your journey. You can also check out my free newsletter, Flow Wolf. Both the links are down below. And if you want personalized help, comment down below the word flow. I have a one-on-one coaching program where I turn distracted entrepreneurs and creators into flow state masters who can both achieve and enjoy what they are doing. Just comment the word flow and I'll send you more details. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.